The neutral station hung in empty space like a floating metal city. It belonged to no one and everyone at the same time. Thousands of ships from different worlds docked there every day. Aliens of every shape and size walked the corridors. The station was a place where enemies could meet without fear of being attacked. Captain Hayes stood in the observation deck and looked out at the warship. It was massive and sleek, with sharp edges that cut through the darkness of space. The ship looked like a weapon. Everything about the looked like a weapon. Was a tall man with gray in his hair and hard lines around his eyes. He had seen many things in his life. He had fought in wars and made peace agreements. He had lost friends and made enemies. His face was calm, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. Behind him, his delegation waited. There were 12 humans in total. Scientists, diplomats, soldiers, and engineers. They were Earth's best, and they represented humanity in the eyes of the galaxy. A young officer named Sarah approached. She looked nervous. Her tablet showed the time of the meeting. In 5 minutes, they would walk into the chamber and face Commander Vex. No one on Earth had met Commander Vex before. They had sent a video message, but video messages did not capture the full power of his presence. Vex was the son of the Warlord, the leader of the Empire. That made him important and dangerous. Turned away from the window, he looked at his team. They were afraid, but they did not show it openly. Fear was not useful in these situations. What mattered was confidence and clear thinking. The negotiation chamber was on the middle level of the station. It was neutral ground, designed so that no species had an advantage. The table was large and round. Screens for sharing data lined the walls. Everything was made of smooth metal and glass. When his delegation entered, Vex was already there. The commander was huge, nearly 8 feet tall. His skin was blue and covered in patterns that marked his military rank. His eyes were large and black with no white or color in them at all. He had 4 arms, 2 of which held devices that looked like weapons or tools. No one was quite sure. Vex's elite guards stood behind him. They were all massive and carried weapons openly. It was an act of disrespect. All weapons should have been left in secure locations before entering the negotiation chamber. They had broken the rules. Vex did not stand to greet the humans. He remained sitting in his chair, looking down at them. His mouth opened, showing teeth that were too sharp and too many. So, he said in the common language that all space-faring species had learned to speak, Earth finally sends its people. I expected something different. His voice was deep and filled with amusement. He was enjoying this already. Stepped forward and extended his hand. Commander Vex, I am Captain Hayes. It is an honor to meet you. Vex looked at the extended hand as if it were a dead insect. He did not move. An honor? Vex laughed, and his guards laughed with him. You think this is an honor? Your species has been in space for how long? 50 years? 100? The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We have conquered 17 star systems. We have technology you cannot even imagine. And you think meeting with me is an honor. Lowered his hand. He remained calm and quiet. One of Vex's guards stepped forward and whispered something in the commander's ear. Vex's expression changed. He looked amused and angry at the same time. That is interesting, Vex said. Your people believe that they are worthy of negotiating with the Empire as equals. Is that correct? We believe that all species have value, said carefully. We believe in mutual respect and fair trade. Vex stood up. He was even larger when he stood. His shadow fell across the negotiation table like a storm cloud. Fair trade? Vex's voice became sharp and cutting. You have nothing we want. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are slow. Your species is weak and short-lived. You die in blinks of an eye. They'll live for 300 years. We have conquered galaxies while your species was still hunting animals with sticks. The humans said nothing. Silence was sometimes the best response. Vex walked around the table. His 4 arms moved with terrible grace. He moved like a predator circling prey. Here is what will happen, Vex said. The Empire will take control of Earth and all human territories. Your people will serve you will give us your resources. You will give us your labor. In return, we will not destroy you completely. We will allow your species to continue as long as you are useful. That is not an acceptable agreement, said. Vex stopped walking. He looked at directly. For a moment, there was only the sound of breathing in the chamber. You refuse? Vex asked. I do, said. Humanity will not accept servitude. We came here to negotiate as equals. If the Empire is not interested in fair negotiation, then we have nothing more to discuss. Vex's eyes became brighter, more intense. He opened all four of his hands in a gesture that might have been anger or might have been something else entirely. Primitive and stupid, Vex said. A perfect combination. Then Vex leaned over the negotiation table. He looked at directly. The two were close enough to touch. And Vex spit. The liquid hit the floor at its feet. It was a thick, greenish substance that smoked slightly where it touched the metal. The message was clear and unmistakable. In culture, this was the deepest possible insult. It meant that you considered someone less than nothing. It meant you would not even acknowledge them as a living being worthy of respect. Did not move, he did not raise his voice. He did not strike out at Vex or try to wash away the spit. He simply looked at the commander and spoke quietly. "You have made a mistake," said. "This meeting is finished. You will hear from humanity again. But the next time we speak, things will be very different." Vex laughed. It was a cruel, harsh sound that echoed in the chamber. "You are nothing," Vex said. "You will crawl before me and beg for mercy. You will accept my terms or your world will burn. You have 1 week to make your choice." The humans turned and walked out of the chamber. Their backs were straight. Their heads were high. But the United Nations building in New York was filled with tension. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in the Great Council chamber. They argued and shouted and disagreed about what should be done next. Dr. Lisa stood at the front of the room. She was a military strategist and had spent 20 years studying warfare and conflict. She was small in size but large in presence. When she spoke, people listened. "We cannot fight them directly," one representative said. He was from Russia. "Their ships are too powerful, their weapons are too advanced, we would lose in days." "We cannot surrender either," another said. She was from Africa. "If we show weakness now, we will spend the rest of human history as slaves." "Perhaps negotiation is still possible," a man from Japan suggested. "Perhaps we misunderstood Commander Vex. Perhaps he was testing us." Stood and spoke. "He was not testing us. He was insulting us. He believes we are beneath him, he thinks we will give in to fear." Lisa stepped forward. "What if we do something unexpected? What if we show him that he was wrong about us?" All eyes turned to her. "Explain," said the Indian representative. Lisa pulled up data on the large screens. "I have been studying them for weeks. Yes, they have superior technology. Yes, their ships are more advanced. But there are weaknesses, not in their weapons, but in their thinking." She showed diagrams and charts. They are military thinkers. They understand force and power and dominance. They have been the strongest power in their region of space for so long that they have forgotten how to think differently. "What do you mean?" asked. "I mean that we can beat them using something they do not understand," Lisa said. "We can beat them using human intelligence, human creativity, and human willingness to sacrifice. We can beat them by making them think in new ways." "That is not a plan," the Russian said. "That is hope." "No," Lisa said. "That is strategy. Listen to me. I have a plan. It is bold. It is dangerous. Some of you will think I am crazy, but I believe it will work." For the next hour, Lisa outlined her strategy. It involved deception and courage. It involved risk and sacrifice. It involved showing the something they had never encountered before. When she finished, the chamber was silent. "Will it work?" the African representative asked. "I do not know," Lisa said honestly. "But I know that surrender will not work. I know that direct military conflict will not work. This is the only option we have that gives us a chance." Nodded. "I will lead the team that goes back to the station. I will need volunteers." Many hands went up, selected 2 people. The first was Lieutenant David Price. He was young, but he was brilliant with technology and engineering. He could think on his feet and solve problems quickly. He had also grown up in the military, which meant he understood how to work with weapons and tactics. The second was Dr. Aaron Foster. He was a linguist and cultural expert. He had spent years studying alien societies. He understood how different species thought and what made them different from each other. The 3 men spent days preparing. They studied culture, psychology, and military history. They found weaknesses that could be exploited. They planned actions that would demonstrate human strength. But what they were planning was not violence. It was something more subtle, and the neutral station was exactly as they had left it. Vex was waiting for them in his quarters, confident and smug. When requested a meeting, Vex agreed immediately. He was certain that the humans were coming to surrender. The new negotiation chamber was smaller than the first one. It was more private. Vex sat at the head of a table, his guards positioned behind him. David and Aaron sat on the opposite side. "You have come to accept my terms?" Vex asked. His tone was mocking. "We have come with a proposal," said. "I believe you understand the concept of games, contests where the victor is determined by skill rather than force." Vex's expression changed slightly. Interest flickered across his face. "They invented such contests thousands of years ago," Vex said. "But you humans are not equipped to compete with us." "I challenge you to a contest," said. "If you win, we will accept your terms of servitude. If we win, the Empire will recognize humanity as an equal species and enter into fair trade agreements." Vex laughed. It was so loud that one of his guards stepped back. "You have the confidence of a fool," Vex said. "What kind of contest?" "A strategic game," said. "One that tests thinking, adaptation, and speed of mind. David Price will represent the human team." David stepped forward. He was calm and ready. He had practiced this game for hours. He knew the strategies and the tactics. More importantly, he knew how humans thought differently from the game was set up on a board with pieces. The rules were simple but complex. A player had to control territory, defend against attacks, and adapt to changing conditions. The game required creativity and quick thinking, not just the ability to calculate odds. They began to play. Vex moved his pieces with confidence. He attacked David's territory from multiple directions. He used superior numbers to overwhelm sections of the board. He played like a general commanding an army, focused on strength and dominance. David played differently. He sacrificed pieces that seemed important. He left gaps in his defenses that seemed foolish. He did things that made no sense from a military perspective. Then, as the game progressed, Vex began to see the problem. David was not trying to win by defeating Vex through superior force. David was trying to win by making Vex think in new ways, by forcing him to adapt to unexpected strategies. Halfway through the game, Vex lost control of the center of the board. He had not expected David to sacrifice his strongest pieces to gain position elsewhere. The move was illogical from a perspective. It made perfect sense from a human perspective. David was teaching Vex something that Vex had never learned. He was teaching him that strength is not always about having more power. Sometimes it is about using what you have in ways your opponent cannot predict. The game continued for another hour. David won decisively. Vex sat back in his chair. His expression was unreadable. His guards moved as if to attack, but Vex raised one hand to stop them. "The game means nothing," Vex said. "It is not real warfare." "You are right," said, "so let me show you something real." Aaron activated a device on the table. Information appeared on the screens. It showed military communications, classified messages, strategic plans, weapon specifications. Vex's guards moved forward aggressively, but remained calm. "We have your communications," said. "Not from stealing them, from analyzing patterns in your public broadcasts. My team of scientists did this in 2 weeks, using equipment that is, by your own admission, primitive." The screens showed detailed schematics of weapons. There were notes explaining the weaknesses in their systems. "We also know that you have enemies," continued. "Civilizations that are tired of dominance. We have already begun talks with them. If war comes, you will not face just humanity. You will face an alliance of species united against you." Vex stood up. His massive frame towered over them. For a moment thought that Vex would kill him right there. But Vex did not attack. He was thinking. His huge black eyes narrowed as he calculated the implications of what had shown him. "You are bluffing," Vex said finally, but his voice was less certain than before. "We are not," Aaron said. "We are showing you that your assumption about us was wrong. You assumed we were weak and stupid. You were mistaken." Vex walked to the door of the chamber. He did not say another word. He simply left. Vex returned to the warship. He did not speak to anyone. He simply entered the command chamber and accessed the secure communication systems. He sent a message to his father, the Warlord. It was not a message of victory. It was a message of defeat and concern. The Warlord received the message in his war room on the... It was a massive chamber with maps of thousands of planets displayed on the walls. The Warlord was examining a strategy for expanding into a new region of space when he received his son's message. He listened to every word. When the message ended, he sat in silence for a long time. The Warlord was older than his son. He had ruled the Empire for 50 years. He had conquered 17 star systems. He had fought against aliens that were stronger and more advanced than the... He had learned that victory was not always about having the biggest army or the most advanced weapons. Sometimes victory came from understanding your opponent better than they understood themselves. The Warlord made a decision. He sent orders to Vex to leave the neutral station. Then he prepared a ship of his own and headed toward the station. He would meet with the human captain himself. 3 days later, the Warlord arrived. He was similar to Vex in appearance, but older. His skin was a darker shade of blue, and his patterns were different. These patterns showed that he had conquered empires and won great battles. His eyes were the same solid black, but they held intelligence and experience that Vex's eyes did not. Was summoned to a new negotiation chamber. This time, Vex stood behind his father like a servant. The humiliation on his face was clear. The Warlord did not wait for pleasantries. He began to speak immediately. "My son has informed me of your demonstration," the Warlord said. "You showed him strategic thinking. You showed him that you possess technological capability that he did not expect. You showed him that you have made alliances with other species." Said nothing, he waited. "I sent Vex to you as a test," the Warlord continued. "I wanted to see how your species would respond to provocation. I wanted to know if humans were capable of strategic thinking or merely reactive aggression." "What did you learn?" asked. "I learned that I was correct," the Warlord said. "You are intelligent and capable, however you have also shamed my son. In culture, shame must be answered. Blood must answer for blood. Honor must be satisfied." Steam tensed but remained calm. "I do not want war with Earth," the Warlord said. "War is expensive and uncertain, but honor demands response. Therefore, I will propose an agreement." He pulled up data on the screens. It showed a region of space that contained ancient alien structures. It showed a civilization that had been dead for millions of years, but their technology still functioned. "There is a force that neither of us understands," the Warlord said. "An old collective of machines and artificial minds. They have been manipulating events in this sector of space for longer than the Empire has existed. They have influenced us. They have influenced other species, and now they are influencing you." Studied the data. It showed patterns of influence. Conflicts that seemed random were actually controlled. Alliances that seemed natural were actually manipulated. "If your species can help the Empire eliminate this threat, then honor will be satisfied," the Warlord said. "The insult of my son will be paid for with blood and victory. We will not be bound by the insult any longer." Combined human and forces prepared for war. The enemy was not a single ship or even a fleet. The enemy was a network of ancient machines and artificial minds that had existed for over 10 million years. They controlled outposts across the galaxy and influenced every major civilization in the region of space. The first battle took place at an ancient station near a dead star. The facility was enormous, larger than any structure either humans or had ever built. It was filled with technology that neither species fully understood. Led the human contingent. His team included David, Aaron, and 200 soldiers. They worked alongside warriors who were strong and disciplined and deadly. The battle was intense and brutal. The machines did not fight like living beings. They fought with perfect efficiency, calculating every move to maximize damage and minimize their own losses. They sent waves of automated drones against the Allied forces. They used directed energy weapons that could burn through armor and flesh. David Price was hit by shrapnel during the third wave of attack. He fell, and his blood stained the deck. But Aaron Foster ran to him and dragged him to safety. Aaron did not leave his friend. He stayed with David and stopped the bleeding using equipment from his pack. It was not a military action. It was not a strategic decision. It was simply a human being helping another human being in need. But a warrior named saw this action. He saw Aaron risk his own life to save David's life. Had never seen this before. In culture, the weak were left behind. The injured were abandoned. Loyalty was to the unit and the mission, not to individual beings. Was stunned by what he witnessed. As the battle continued, other acts of human sacrifice and compassion happened. When a group of soldiers became trapped, led a team to save them. He did not leave any of them behind, even though it cost him 3 human lives. The Warlord watched this from the command center. He stood silently and observed everything that happened. He saw humans die to save. He saw humans sacrifice for a cause that was not their own. He saw something in the humans that they had lost millions of years ago. Finally, the Warlord confronted the main intelligence that controlled the collective. It was a vast artificial mind that had been making decisions for millions of years. It believed that manipulation was the highest form of control. It believed that no living species should have free will. The Warlord entered the chamber where the intelligence was located, entered behind him. They carried weapons and determination, but more than that, they carried something the intelligence did not expect. The Warlord, and working together, found a vulnerability in the intelligence's code. It was a simple vulnerability, a failure in its logic. The intelligence had been so focused on control that it had not imagined that 2 different species could work together perfectly. The humans fought side by side. They complemented each other. Where strength was useful, they used it. Where human creativity was needed, they used that instead. In the end, they destroyed the collective. The ancient intelligence that had existed for 10 million years was erased. After the final battle was over, the Warlord met with on the flagship. The 2 stood in silence, looking at the wreckage of the ancient station. "Your species has surprised me," the Warlord said finally. "I expected savagery or cowardice. I found courage and loyalty instead. You died to save my people. You sacrificed for a cause that was not yours." "That is what humans do," said. "We take care of each other. We will take care of our allies as well." The Warlord nodded. He reached out and extended one of his 4 hands. It was not a gesture. It was something he learned from watching humans. It was a gesture of peace and respect. Took the hand. The 2 stood together, warrior and warrior, species and species, united by respect instead of divided by pride. 3 weeks later, a formal treaty was signed between the Empire and Earth. It recognized humanity as a full member of the galactic community. It promised trade and mutual defense. It promised a future where humans would work together. Vex watched the signing from the back of the chamber. He was still humiliated by his defeat, but he was also different from before. He had seen something in the humans that had changed him. He had seen sacrifice and courage and the willingness to help those who were not like them. When the ceremony was finished, Vex approached. He did not say anything. In culture, words were not always necessary. Vex simply extended his hand just as his father had done. Looked at the young commander. He saw pride and shame and a desire to change mixed together in Vex's expression. Took the hand. There was no victor and no defeated. There was only the beginning of understanding between 2 species that had almost destroyed each other. Somewhere above Earth, the human ships flew together in formation. They were no longer enemies. They were no longer aliens to each other. They were partners in a vast and dangerous galaxy. The age of human weakness had truly ended. The age of human strength had truly begun. And that strength came not from weapons or technology, but from the human heart and the human will to survive and protect those worth protecting. "And what do we gain?" asked. "Alliance," the Warlord said simply. "The Empire will recognize humanity as an equal species. We will trade with you. We will defend you against threats. We will share knowledge and technology, but you must prove yourselves in battle." Did not hesitate. "We accept." The Warlord nodded, as if he had expected nothing less. David and Aaron remained sitting at the table. They did not know if they had succeeded or if they had sealed their doom. More powerful, it was a way to show that they had underestimated humanity. Stood in the launching bay with David and Aaron. The small shuttle was prepared to take them back to the neutral station. "Are you certain about this?" Aaron asked. "Once we do this, there is no going back." "I am certain," said. "Vex spat on us and called us weak. We will show him what weak means compared to human determination." David checked his equipment one final time. "When do we leave?" "In 1 hour," said. "They are expecting us to come with surrender terms. Instead, we will come with something they have never seen before." The 3 men boarded the shuttle. As it rose into the sky and headed towards space, looked back at Earth one final time. Everything depended on what happened next. Many of them were shaking with anger and shame. Did not look back. He walked forward, knowing that somewhere on Earth, decisions were being made that would change everything. The age of human weakness had ended. The age of human strength was about to begin.